Hey everyone, welcome back to the House Guitars Workshop. Another video here in the series outlining the new guitar build for Garrett Waite. If you haven't had a chance to watch the introduction video for this series, I'd encourage you to go back and do that. Just outlines the ideas for this project as well as the specs for the different materials and the goals of this instrument. And then the rest of these videos here are showing different aspects of the build, and this one will be focusing on the top. What you see in front of us here is the Adirondack spruce top that has been joined and cut out to the rough shape for Garrett's guitar. On the outside of the top, I just wanted to point out the rosette. This is a segmented rosette, or what's often referred to as a radial rosette. So the wood is cut in such a way that the grain appears to be radiating out from the center. It's a really cool look. Everything just kind of pops out under finish. Very efficient way to use up scraps of wood, and that's going to look terrific. Here we have the interior shot of the top. There's still a little bit of refining to do. I'm going to clean up these braces, give them all a nice sanding and that before the top gets glued on. But most of that, the fitting and shaping of the upper transverse brace, I leave all that until I'm ready to glue the top onto the rim. So a couple of key things I want to point out here. You'll definitely notice some similarities between the pattern I'm using here and say maybe a traditional Martin or Gibson style pattern. But there's some pretty significant differences as well. So I'm going to throw a picture of a Martin bracing pattern up on the screen here. Pay special attention to what's going on above the upper transverse brace above the sound hole and around the sound hole itself. Coming back to my top here, there's a few things that you'll notice that are different than, say, the Martin top. The Martin has a very thin patch up in this area. I often call it a popsicle brace. It's definitely providing some strength to the top, but it's not a significant point of strength. So I've chosen to go a different route on my guitars, and I'll point this out more when you see the video with the rim assembly, but my neck block actually has an extension that fills in this gap right under the fretboard, and it butts right up against the upper transverse brace here, creating a very solid connection that's going to be resistant to diving and cracking, which is sometimes the case on vintage guitars. The other big difference you'll notice from, say, the Martin style, some of the Martin guitars have little patches around the sound hole. Again, better than nothing, but those patches don't necessarily do a whole lot to reinforce the top. Just from years of repair work, if you see some of these old vintage guitars, the weak points in the top are typically right in this area here. If you see a top that's starting to deform or collapse, it's often right in this area. So a couple things I've done here. I've got a cross-grained spruce patch. The top is double thick with this patch around the sound hole. The grain is running in this direction, so opposite direction to the top. And I've taken it a step further, adding in these radiused finger braces, so they have a radius that matches the 28-foot radius of the top, providing a huge amount of strength in this area. So this is going to be very resistant to warping or deformation over time, which is sometimes a problem with vintage style guitars that are braced this way. These are Adirondack spruce braces paired up with the Adirondack top for a very responsive instrument. I often get asked, do I use scalloped braces? And I have used scalloped braces, but they're not my regular go-to. I prefer just using these tapered style braces. Scalloped braces are great for lightening up a top. They create a very responsive instrument, but they do weaken the top in the areas where it traditionally has these scallops. I've seen this on especially Martin guitars, some that are not old at all, made in the past 10 or 15 years. And what happens to these guitars is if they're not properly humidified, the top can dry out and it very quickly shrinks and falls. This guitar, like I said, is being built specifically for Garrett's needs. One of the things is that it needs to be able to withstand a variety of conditions that he may encounter while touring with the instrument. And that could be playing outdoors, playing in dry environments, playing in more humid environments. And I want to build a guitar that's going to best stand up to a wide variety of conditions. And so that means in this case, not going with the scallops. It is something I only do by request. If you're interested in having me do a scallop guitar, please get in touch. You see a generous bridge plate here. I've actually thinned it out a little bit more than what some people use for their bridge plates, but I have extended it right up into the X, and that's just to provide some extra strength in the area where it's needed most. There you have it, kind of the general features you'll find on one of my Dreadnought guitars. This top should produce a lot of volume, just everything you want in the Dreadnought sound. I'm working on the other 2 or 3 videos in this series covering the back and sides as well as the neck. If you want to see what's coming next, please like and subscribe to my channel as well as to Garrett's and Ken's at Paramount Guitars. Thanks for watching.